This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm at the headquarters of Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. Been a while since we caught up on camera, Frank. How's life?
It's been, I've had the flu for the last 2 weeks. I'm just getting over it. Bloody awful flu, so that's not been too good. And I had a terrible coughing fit and knocked my back out. So other than that, life's been marvellous.
Okay, well, glad to see you're getting on the mend. And Saturday, hopefully, we'll be fully fit and, well, not to get in the ring, but to be watching Zach Parker ringside.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing Zach up there. You know, he'll be looking to make a statement. Chris Eubanks fought Morrison last time, didn't he? So he will be looking to go one better and try and stop him. But I think it'll be a decent fight. I think it'll be a keenly fought fight. But for me, Zach's been a revelation since he's been with us. I really have. He's really impressed me, and I think he's going places. And hopefully, he'll come through this fight and set himself up for next year in some big fights. You know, the same night on BT box office, we've got the Canelo fight and Plant, so that's going to be a really good fight, I think. So he's got to get in the mix, and also it's good domestic fights for him here. You know, I think him and Chris Eubanks would be a great fight. I'd love to see that. I'd like to see him in the ring with Eubanks if he's got the balls to step up and do it.
Well, we know Marcus Morrison gave a decent account of himself against Chris Eubanks Jr.
Very much so. Yeah.
But I'm sure Zach will be looking to do one better on him.
Well, that's what he's got to try and do, and hopefully he will do that. But as I say, the other guys, you know, he knows what's at stake for him. He'll be looking to try and get a win and keep himself in the mix. So I think we'll have a really competitive fight on the night.
Okay. Interesting mix with obviously Denzel Bentley and Nathan Heaney both on the undercard as well. Let's talk about Nathan Heaney. I'm sure he'll be bringing in excess of 1,000 fans with him to Birmingham.
He will. Stoke will be empty, won't it? Time he comes down there, I think. You know, there's always be a tremendous atmosphere, and he's amazing, and he's such a likeable and nice guy. That's why he's got such great support. And hopefully he's being stepped up. Hopefully he'll come through, and hopefully sometime again next year we can get him into Stoke and into the football ground there, and hopefully do a big fight for him.
Absolutely. And Denzel Bentley, of course, disappointing against Felix Cash, that loss. It's good to see he's on the comeback now with Denzel.
Yeah, I mean, he done well, Felix. I mean, it was a very good win, but I don't know what happened on the night. It just looked like two different sizes, the pair of them, didn't they? He looked so big, but he done what he had to do and won the fight. And now Denzel's getting back into the mix. He can't wait to get out, and he's got to resurrect his career. So this on Saturday is going to be an important fight for him. He's got to set himself up for some big fights to get in the mix next year.
We'll tune into BT Sport to watch Zach Parker headline against Marcus Morrison, of course, the rest of the undercard.
Yeah.
And then a few hours later, on box office, undisputed fight between Canelo and Plant. What do you think happens, Frank? Are you picking Canelo?
I'm picking Canelo basically because of the form that he's in, and he seems to be unbeatable that way. But you know what? I think Plant will give him a few problems. I think it'll be a really good fight. I don't think it's any walkover. I think it'll be a keenly fought contest.
Okay, well, we look forward to a big night on BT this Saturday night. Okay, Frank, I haven't caught up with you since just the little fight was announced between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Just how did this get over the line, Frank?
Well, it's been, you and I spoke about it for a few weeks now, and it was pointless announcing it until the contract was signed. But the contract's signed now, so it's on the 18th of December in Tampa, and we're all looking forward to it. I think it's going to be quite an intriguing fight.
Was this a tough fight to get delivered?
No, they both wanted it. Both of them wanted it, and as far as Paul's concerned, you got to take your hat off to him. I mean, he called for the fight, and Tommy wanted it. So it's for me, it's a strange old situation. You've got a guy who's had 7 fights fighting a guy who's had 2 or 3 fights, but there's so much interest in it. It's got a massive interest in it for whatever reasons, but there's massive interest, and I think it's going to be quite an event between the two of them.
Jake Paul's obviously had a lot of accusations towards him that he's actually never fought a boxer, but now he is doing it. People do have to respect that, surely.
Well, look, he's made his mind up that he wants to be a boxer, and he's getting in with a boxer and a guy who's a winning fighter at the moment in Tommy. He's 7-0. His last performance, he could have done a bit better than he did, but having said that, maybe that's what's helped make the match. But I know that Tommy will be at the top of his game, and he'll have to be, because you wouldn't want to be going home to the Fury household if he gets beat, would you? Can you imagine the stick he'd be getting there? So it's a lot of pressure on Tommy, but he's got to deliver. This is what he was looking for. This is what he wanted. He asked me to make the fight. Took a while to do it, and in the end of the day, my son George got it over the line. He done the negotiations with the other people, but we got it there and we made it happen.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you anything about the contract, but I will ask about one question.
You can ask me, go on.
We don't hope this happens, but if he loses the fight, does he actually have to change his name?
No, that's not in the contract.
He wiped that out, yeah.
I'll tell you what, I think Jake Paul is a really good promoter. He's a very good promoter. And he's fun. There's no doubt about it. This is going to be a lot of fun. These two are going to obviously get at each other, but it's going to be a fun promotion. There's no doubt about it.
It's mad to think that you're actually co-promoting a show with Jake Paul.
Oh, see, that was my ambition in life. When I was young, I started out, I thought to myself, am I ever going to get to that stage? And there it is, that's what we're doing.
Well, we're here now.
I'm delighted to be doing it. It's good fun. I'm glad. Look, I'm pleased for Tommy because he's getting extremely well paid for it, and you can't expect him to be turning anything down like this. It's huge money.
Mountains of pressure on him.
Yeah, but you know what? For the money you're getting paid, you get paid well to take the pressure. That's what it's all about.
And I'm sure that will do quality business in the UK. We're expecting big bars that night.
I would think it'd do well. I mean, there's a lot of interest in it. I mean, I've got to tell you something. More people talk about that as a fight than most fights. I mean, everywhere, when we was out for Tyson, all the internet guys and everything, the journalists and whatever, that was always the next question. After you talked about Tyson and Wilder, then they went straight on to Paul and Tommy. So it's a big fight. There's no doubt about it. It's a big fight. For whatever reasons, it's a big fight.
December 18th in Tampa, Florida. Frank, if Tommy does the business, gets the win on a huge stage, what's going to be the process next year with Tommy?
Well, it depends how you win, how he wins. If he wins, I think I fancy him to win the fight. Depends how he wins. And who knows, maybe the brother might want some revenge. Who knows where you go with this?
Right, okay.
Maybe a rematch. Who knows if it's a close fight to see where it is.
True. Right, let's talk about Mr. Tyson Fury. I want to ask you firstly about how he's getting on. Obviously, you said he's spending time with his family. Have you spoke to him recently?
I've spoke to him a couple of times. He's, it's half term for the kids, and he was basically doing the dad job. He's been in camp for God knows how long, and been away obviously for his fight. He was spending time with his kids, and obviously got a newborn baby. And Paris has got a book out, and he's been helping her promote the book. I've seen him in a couple of photos with her, so he's been going with her promoting her book, which is apparently doing really well. So he's been quite busy, but I didn't speak much about boxing. Just touched on it, just see how he was, and that was it really.
Okay, good to hear. I'm sure he's been thinking about perhaps what the next move is. Have you?
Well, of course I have. You think about what in an ideal world, what you like. In an ideal world, I'd like to see the unification fight with Usyk, but that AJ, I don't think is going to let that happen. And then obviously the WBC are in a position where they've been talking about Dillian White, and we'll see where we go with that when they have their convention.
Yeah, I will read Mauricio Sulaiman's comments. This was to Talk Sport. WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman has said he's received medical certification from the British Border Control regarding Dillian White's injury. Therefore, he indicated that the WBC will now move forward with their ruling, which will see Tyson Fury v White ordered next. Will you make an offer to Team White, to Matchroom, about staging that fight, Frank?
Well, I don't know. First of all, I don't know who we got to make an offer to anyway. Number one, if we were going to make an offer, do we make it to Dillian White? Is he? Do we make it to him or do we make it to Matchroom? I don't know. Maybe Dillian can give us a heads up on that. But more importantly, it's really what Tyson wants to do, and it's going to be Tyson's choice at the end of the day what he wants to do. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks, and then make a decision how we're going to move forward.
I spoke to Eddie Hearn post-fight at their show on Saturday and asked him that question. I said, if Frank Warren and Bob Arum want to make you an offer before that goes to purse bids about that fight, I said, who do they contact? Do they contact Dillian's management team or do they contact you? And he did clarify that he's a free agent, Dillian White, but Eddie said that White should come to him because he can provide some leverage.
Well, if he's a free agent, we'll make the offer to Dillian, and if he wants to take it over to Matchroom, he can do that, if we make an offer.
And I also spoke to his dad, Barry Hearn, and he believes that fight should go to purse bids so that it reflects the true market value of that fight. Do you think that fight, if it is ordered and Tyson's up for it, that will go to purse bids?
Don't know. Depends, doesn't it? Depends what offers are made. We'll see what happens, how it pans out.
I'm guessing that is a UK fight, Frank?
I would think so. It's a UK fight. You know, that makes the most sense. But, you know, really, it's where it can generate the most income. I think it would do. It's a fight we'd all certainly like to see in the UK. It's a stadium fight. So that'd be working out, you know, what stadium's available, when and where. And as I say, the most important thing is what Tyson wants to do. Because Tyson's only going to fight him if he feels it's worth it.
If it does happen, what do you think happens?
I think he'd do a job on him. I just look at the form line. I look at Dillian White fighting Derek Chisora twice. I think the first fight, I thought Chisora nicked it. The decision was given to Dillian. And the second fight, Derek was winning that fight till Dillian pulled it out of the bag and done what he had to do, which was a good finish. And he did that. Then I look at what Tyson did with Derek Chisora. And, I mean, that was a better Derek Chisora. That was a younger Derek Chisora. And for me, Derek didn't win a second of any round, and going into that fight, I fancied Derek would give him a real problem, and I fancied Derek may beat him, but Tyson done an absolute job on him,
Do you think sometimes when people look at Tyson's resume, we talk about the Klitschko win, the Wilder wins, that sometimes he doesn't perhaps get the credit for the two Chisora wins?
Well, he beat him twice, didn't he? He was underdog on. I think he was underdog on the second fight. He was an underdog. I'm not sure. I don't remember where he was on the first, but no, you know, it's strange with Tyson. He's sort of like he's become, what's he now, 32? He's like a 10-year overnight sensation, and but he's done everything that's been asked of him, and he's done it in different ways. You know, when you look at what he did with Klitschko, I mean, it was an out-and-out boxing lesson in the other guy's backyard. And okay, people, we know he doesn't come from Germany, Klitschko, but that's where he based himself, and there was 54,000 people in that stadium, and I could tell you they weren't there to support Tyson Fury, they were there for Klitschko. So he went into that stadium and done a job, and then he's been to the States now 3 times and beat the man in 3 entirely different fights, 3 different fights against Dillian White. Sorry, against Deontay Wilder, 3 different fights, and all exciting, and you know, that's how adaptable he is. He's got such a different, you know, he can sort of do anything. He's an unbelievable boxer, Tyson, unbelievable fighter, unbelievable brawler when he wants to be. And what he did with Derek was he totally outboxed him. He broke him down, broke him up, and I pulled him out of that fight. I went to the corner and told him to throw the towel in. Yeah. I mean, and that towel should have gone in my opinion. It could have been easy stopped in a couple of rounds earlier. I mean, he'd done a job on it.
Your promotional partner involved with Tyson Fury, Mr. Bob Arum, of course I'm referring to, has made some comments recently saying Joe Joyce could be a potential opponent for Tyson Fury if it's not Dillian White. Now obviously you've got Joe in a great position. He's got a multi-fight deal with you, #1 with the WBO, which I'm sure will be ordered sometime soon next year. So how do you feel about that?
Look, I'm in the business of making fights. I've never really worried about guys, if they're under our umbrella, fighting each other. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. We've done that enough times. Having said that, it's all down to Tyson, what Tyson wants to do. Joe would want it, of course he'd want it. It'd be a great fight for him. It'd be a great fight for the British public, no doubt about it. Who knows, next year sometime that might occur. And, you know, Bob's mentioned it because obviously he's looking at opponents. But it just tells you how strong we are, that to look for opponents to fight Tyson, you know, you've got to look at, you know, Joe Joyce, Dillian White. You know, Britain's very strong in this, in the world heavyweight boxing. There's not too much in America for him to fight, and I'm quite sure Tyson, if he fought in America, fought a Brit in America, would still do great business. He's become he's a resident now, isn't he? He's got a house in Vegas, and he's become quite a bit of a star over there.
Just picking this back up, the last one on Tyson Fury, please, Frank. We're talking about potential opponents, what Bob's saying, what you're saying. Eddie Hearn made a comment recently where he said that Frank Warren doesn't have any decision power over Tyson Fury.
He's absolutely right. Of course I don't. Tyson Fury makes the decisions. He's the guy who's the lineal champion. He's the #1 heavyweight in the world. And that's his decision, how much he wants to fight for and who he wants to fight. It's not my decision. He's a grown man. He's 32, 33 years of age. He'll make his decision. Of course, I'll advise him what my opinion is, as I did when he came and signed with me, when we sat down and done our deal. When originally I said we'd do 4 warm-up fights and then we'd get him in for a shot at the world title. And after 2 fights, I felt he was ready to fight Deontay Wilder. And I knew I could get the fight done with Shelley Finkel, so I sat down with him, talked about it. Everybody, bar him and me, I think there's one other person, were up for the fight. His dad didn't want him to have it. No one wanted him to have the fight, but he took my advice and obviously, had the faith in himself to know that he could go and win the fight. He, as we all know, he got robbed. So he took my advice that time. That's what my job is. My job's to try and make the openings there for him to actually, so that he can actually take advantage of them. And that's what I'll do. It's a bit like, it's the same as you look at Anthony Joshua. He's in a position now. I'm sure Matchroom don't decide what he's going to do. He's the guy who's going to decide what he's going to do. I'm sure when we make, or if we make an offer to Dillian White, if we make that offer to him, I'm sure he'll make a decision as being a free agent whether he wants to take that offer round to Matchroom to give him a piece of the action or not. He may not, but that'll be his decision because he's the guy who will decide, not Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, Barry Hearn, me, or anyone. They'll make their decisions.
We brought up Anthony Joshua there. We'll ask you. He did an interview with us recently, and he explained what's going on in his life at the moment. Obviously, he's been out in America, going to different gyms. Yeah. Virgil Hunter, Robert Garcia, Eddie Reynoso was also someone he visited. So clearly, he's looking at potential trainers. What have you made of that situation, Frank?
Well, look, he's obviously watched the fight back. And I'm sure he's listening to what was being said in the corner, especially, I can't remember, it was somebody in the corner was telling him that he was really doing well, more or less, that he was winning the fight. And I'm sure he looked back at that and he'll decide what he needs to do if he goes ahead with this rematch with Usyk. If he goes ahead with it, then he feels he needs to do something to his training regime, to his corner, then he'll do that. For me, I'm old school. I believe that a fighter should have one trainer, and that should be the one voice in the corner. I don't go with this like having 3 or 4 different guys, all different guys giving different opinions and whatever. You need whoever is going to be your main, whoever is training the fighter should be the guy who is the only voice in the corner. That's how it should be, in my opinion. But then people have other ideas, and obviously at the end of the day, AJ will have his idea as to what he feels is going to be good for him going forward.
Okay. Frank, I will ask you about a report that came out on planetsport.com. Of course, we've talked about this situation before with DAZN and BT. There was a new report that came in. So, planetsport.com released a report saying a deal has been reached between DAZN and BT to buy out BT Sports from next summer, so 2022, and will gain rights to the Premier League and Champions League. Again, I've asked you about this, but just to clarify for the fans, how does this affect you and Queensberry and your deal with BT Sport?
It doesn't affect me at all. We have an exclusive agreement for all boxing on BT Sport, BT, and we have an exclusive for all pay-per-views on BT.
Okay.
Box office.
That report says DAZN will buy the platforms of BT Sport, so how would that function, Frank?
I've got no idea. You better ask them. I've got an exclusive deal. My deal is what it is. I mean, that's not my problem. That's for them to sort out. If that is the case, I don't believe it is at the moment. But even if it were the case, that's for them to sort out. It's, I have a contract. End of story. And my contract, anyone tries to interfere with it, then there'll be a problem. Be a big problem. And my contract is 100% solid.
Okay. Frank, I know we keep talking about Ben and Avanesian, but there were further comments made from people at Matchroom and Team Ben saying even if the offer from yourselves for that fight was double, they still would want a warm-up fight and look at that fight further down the line. Now, obviously, you said you offered 500 grand plus pay-per-view upside, so we're talking about $1 million plus pay-per-view upside, would still not be sufficient enough for that fight. Your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on it, go and have another fight, but that doesn't stop you making an agreement in the interim. Go and have his other fight and do the, get a contract agreed between us now. I mean, we've made an offer. No one's come back at us with a counter offer. And there's another guy there, Echo Esserman. We'd love to make that fight, no problem. There's two good fights there to be made. That was what that was all. That was the essence of what it was about when I wanted to sit down and have a chat about making these fights. When was it? Before COVID, all those years ago. That was the essence of it all. There's fights to be made there. Some good fights, some that I could promote, some that they could promote. But look, when you get a bit skinny on the ground with talent, I suppose you don't want to take the risk.
What do you think about $1 million not being enough?
That's ridiculous, isn't it? I don't know how much Conor Benn's made in his career. Only he knows the answer to that.
Would you offer $1 million?
I'm not going to go into what the offer is, but they've more or less told you what it is, haven't they? So what are you going to say? I'm not disputing what they said I've offered. One thing's for sure: no one's made an offer here.
Okay, well that's enough.
Oh, sorry, back to us when I say here.
That's maybe it's there.
Let's just come. No.
Well, that's enough from me today, Frank. Unless there's anything you'd like to add before we close off.
No, the old Arsenal done well the weekend, didn't they? I've been watching the matches from home, but they've hit a bit of form, so I was pleased with that.
Your keeper's the best signing you've made.
Well, you know what? He was inspiring on Saturday, wasn't he, up there against Leicester? He was in. Some of those saves were just phenomenal. One of the saves was, as Schmeichel said, was one of the best saves I've seen for many, many years.
What, off the free kick, the Madison free kick? Yeah,
unbelievable, wasn't it? And more what I like about him as well is he's like a captain. He's at the back there. His distribution's good, and he's at the back there spurring them on. He grits his teeth. I'll tell you what, he made a good fighter. I'd like to sign him. If you want to turn pro, you know where to come.
Frank Warren, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV as always.
It's a pleasure.
We look forward to Zach Parker against Marcus Morrison this Saturday live on BT Sport, and then of course box office for Canelo v Plant undisputed fight.
Don't miss it. It's going to be a good night.
I know I said that was enough from me, but I've got one more.
Can I go or what? I'm struggling here.
Well, obviously we've got a massive fight for yourselves on December 4th.
Yeah.
The rematch between Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard. When are you going to make Pat Barrett v Tunde Joe on the undercard?
Well, maybe after the main event we can get that one on. Next one after. It was a bit lively, that, wasn't it? You know what? For me, it makes a better fight because there's such a competitive fight now. You've even got the trainers at it against each other. So, a lot at stake. There'll be a lot of passion. They're putting their reputations on the line. Everything's on the line for that fight, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I feel like the first time round there wasn't that intensity between the two fighters.
No, for me it didn't quite. What I was expecting. It's a spark. It just didn't quite. It was a good fight. It was quite a close fight, but it didn't touch the old. The old blue paper didn't do it, but I think it will this time. I think the fact that you've got the live crowds back as well would be a great atmosphere. I think it'll make a big difference.
I think also we were coming off the previous weekend of Dubois Joyce, which was a huge fight, and I think it now it is a massive fight, but because we had such a big event last weekend before it didn't perhaps get the.
You may be right, Umar, but one thing's for sure, in December that's going to be something.
Absolutely.
It will be a good fight. I'm telling you. I know. You know when you're looking at two guys, the face-off. How that you're getting the vibe between them, between the two camps. It's going to be a good fight.
How are tickets going for that, Frank?
Going really well. We're really pleased. Obviously, we've still got some more to sell, but it's going extremely well. Can't complain.
Well, if you haven't got one yet, go and get one.
I will. Buy a ticket. Don't miss it. It's a good fight.
Okay, Frank Warren. That is final one from me.
I hope so. God help us.
We'll be going into next week.
And another one. It's like Harry Enfield, isn't it? Was it the bloke over the fence when he's You don't do it like that. Do it like this. Kept coming back for more, don't you?
Right, I'll see you.
Top man.
I'll see you Saturday.
I'll see you when I'm looking at it. Ta-ra, mate.